Now, what's going on with you today? Hope you're doing good. Thank you for joining me. Nicki Minaj has officially responded to Megan Thee Stallion. Now, Nicki Minaj versus Megan Thee Stallion. I feel like this is the only thing people have been talking about for the last 48 hours. I'm sure you might have heard or seen something about this, but just in case you're not in the loop, the other day, Megan Thee Stallion, she dropped a record titled Hiss, where she was throwing some shots at Nicki Minaj. Now, she didn't mention Nicki by name. She did, however, say this: "These O's don't be mad at Megan, these O's mad at Megan's Law." And that line was, of course, a reference to Nicki Minaj's husband, who at the age of 16 got accused of baping another 16-year-old girl. He eventually got convicted for this crime and served a couple years in prison for it. And by the way, yes, obviously he did it. I thought you guys would understand why I said allegedly. Even though I said allegedly in my last video, we all know he did it because he was convicted. It's just a way for me to protect myself, guys, okay? Anyway, now Megan's Law specifically, like we went over in the last video, it's a federal law that requires the release of relevant information to protect the public from sexually violent offenders. And Nicki Minaj's husband, Kenneth Petty, is a sexually violent offender because he baped someone at the age of 16. So essentially, Meg dropped this line as a way to put the focus on Nicki's family. And it worked in the end because, you know, she dropped a pretty clever line in a song where she didn't really name drop Nicki at all. And she dropped this line that literally, it's literally called Megan's Law, which is the crazy part, right? At the same time, she managed to undermine her enemy, in this case, Nicki Minaj, while throwing some shots at her, not directly, but by hitting on one of her pain points, which is her family, i.e. her husband. And you know what they say, right? If it doesn't apply, let it fly. Now, in this case right here, Nicki Minaj didn't let it fly because obviously she knew that it applied to her husband. Gotta give it up to Megan because honestly, she was very strategic with this line. Now, the aftermath of this Hiss record by Megan Thee Stallion was that Nicki Minaj ended up going into a frenzy. She absolutely went off on Megan on social media, said a whole bunch of things, previewed a record, which she eventually dropped. We'll get to that in a second. She was on that IG live, absolutely just going off on Megan. She made some comments about Megan Thee Stallion, you know, lying on her dead mother. That was definitely one of the focal points of Nicki's response. She doubled, triple, actually quadrupled down on social media and just, I mean, Nicki was going crazy. Now, as this whole thing was going on, the question a lot of us had was, how about that diss track, Nicki? Because she previewed this apparent diss titled Bigfoot on that IG live, but she wasn't dropping it. Instead, she was on social media going off on Meg. So how about that diss track, we said? And I guess Nicki Minaj decided to listen to us because she officially dropped it last night. Now, the record is titled Bigfoot, and it's essentially a combination of all of her tweets and everything she said on Instagram Live in record form. So I want to take a look at the lyrics to the song. Let's actually go through everything she said together, and let's see what's the verdict. Did Nicki come hard or nah? So she starts off the song by saying, "Your flow is such a bore, drinking a bottle of Henny through a straw. Bitch, you better stop the dialogue before I hit Carl and buy your catalog." Now, this particular line right here is actually a reference to Carl Crawford, and that's the man who actually signed Megan Thee Stallion back in 2018 to 1501 Certified Entertainment, which is the label that Megan used to be signed to. Megan Thee Stallion was actually in this 3-year-long legal dispute between herself and her old record label that did actually get settled a couple months ago, specifically in October 2023. Back in 2020, Meg decided to take legal action against 1501 because she claimed that the contract she signed with him was just so ridiculous to the point where she wanted to get out of this contract. The specific deal that Megan was in gave 1501, her record label, a 60% cut of her recording revenue along with 30% of her touring and merchandise income. So obviously now it's starting to make sense why she didn't want to be wrapped up in his contract, right? Meg was getting robbed. That's what it is, right? Meg, just like every single young artist out there who signs too early, got screwed. And she gathered her legal team a couple years ago and really tried to get out of this contract, and she succeeded, right? They split allegedly amicably a couple months ago, and now Megan Thee Stallion, as far as we know, is a free agent. So she's independent. So this line that Nicki dropped is a reference to Carl Crawford, who's the owner of this record label that Megan Thee Stallion filed a lawsuit against. So that's what she means when she says, "For I hit Carl and buy your catalog." By the way, if you made it this far and you're enjoying this breakdown, I would definitely appreciate you showing me some love by liking this video. Thank you. On this next line, Nicki says, how you F your mother man when she died. I don't know what she's talking about. That sounds very messy. On this next line, she says, how you gon' Gayle King and can't cry? Ciao. Bye. Bigfoot, but you still small fry. Swearing on your dead mother when you lie. So the Gayle King line is a reference to that interview that Megan Thee Stallion did back in April 2022, where she was, talking about the shooting involving Tory Lanez, and she was kind of, or it looks like she was shedding tears.
And all I hear is this man screaming, he said, dance, and he started shooting, and I'm just like, oh my God.
So Megan Thee Stallion did get a lot of criticism for this particular interview because a lot of people felt like she wasn't really, coming across as very truthful about the situation. And honestly, this interview, in my opinion, didn't really paint Megan Thee Stallion in the best light. But that doesn't really matter now because, Tory did end up getting 10. So on his first verse, she says, hey, yo, this little begging whore talking about Megan's Law. For a free beat, you can hit Megan raw. If you a ghostwriter, partying Megan jaw. Shots thrown, but I still ain't letting Megan score. She continues and says, bad bitch, she like 6 foot. I call her Bigfoot. This bitch fell off. I said, get up on your good foot. Can't even lie, that part catchy as hell. So as you can see on that first part, she made a reference to Megan's Law. Don't really think there's much for Nicki to say because, she got to talk about her husband, and I'm sure she doesn't want to admit certain things about her man. And then on the next part, she says, for a free beat, you can hit Megan raw. If you a ghostwriter, party in Megan jaw. That free beat, hit Megan raw line, that's definitely a reference to, something a lot of people have been saying about Megan, which is she is a thought. Okay, people have been saying that. I didn't say that. People have been saying that because she's like dated a lot of people in the industry, specifically rappers, but other entertainers and famous people as well. Just a couple names and a couple examples of this: Moneybagg Yo, Tory Lanez. She was allegedly dating Trey Songz for a period of time after they were seen flirting in the club. And then she was also dating not a rapper, but Romelu Lukaku. He's a Belgian football player. He plays as a striker in Italy at the moment, but he was seen, holding hands with Megan Thee Stallion last year. Also, we have Jeezy, who was kind of, spotted kissing Meg. Not sure how Jeezy of all people bagged Megan Thee Stallion anyway. And then we have Pardison Fontaine, which was her ex-boyfriend. He's actually been a writer in the music industry for years, and he's written records for Cardi B. And this is one of the reasons why Megan has like a lot of lines about other, she says niggas, claiming that they've slept with her. It's kind of like a reoccurring theme in her music that she constantly touches on, which honestly, that's like a female rapper thing, because slut shaming in general, that's something that most women have had some kind of experience with in their life, regardless of if they're an entertainer or famous or whatever. And also too, during the whole Tory Lanez versus Megan Thee Stallion ordeal, the slut shaming comments did get amplified for Meg, because as information was starting to pour in, we did find out that both Kelsey Nicole, Megan's best friend at the time, and Megan Thee Stallion herself, they both did end up sleeping with Tory Lanez. So Nicki Minaj, in other words, she's saying it's a free-for-all when it comes to Meg because anyone can hit. That's what she's saying. So Nicki is, in other words, she is slut-shaming Megan Thee Stallion on this particular line. Now this is actually important because Nicki has in the past actually been accused of slut-shaming women in general, but specifically sex workers. Back in 2018, a couple weeks before she dropped Queen, Nicki made some comments about women who are sex workers in an interview. And she did this after she kind of opened up about her image in this interview. And Nicki was essentially explaining that she was worried about how her persona, her selling sex appeal, affects other women who are watching her sell this image to the world. And Nicki was saying that it makes her sad as a woman that modern day prostitutes exist. Kind of funny because it sounds like something that would be said by a person who runs like a red pill channel. But anyway, so let's actually check out this interview and let's see what Nicki Minaj said. So Nicki, from this 2018 interview, she said the following: I love being sexy. I'm never gonna stop being an exhibitionist, but it too has had consequences she didn't anticipate, the article says. The article then says one of her messages on the new album, she says, is it being okay to keep your legs closed. And then Nicki says, I don't really know how to say that without being offensive. And then this is the part that Nicki got a lot of backlash for. She said, maybe I was being naive, but I didn't realize how many girls were modern day prostitutes. She continues and says, whether you're a stripper or whether you're an Instagram girl, these girls are so beautiful and they have so much to offer. But I started finding out that you give them a couple $1,000s and you can have sex with them. I was like, yikes. It's just sad that they don't know their worth. It makes me sad as a woman, and it makes me sad that maybe I've contributed to that in some way. Nicki then continues on the interview and says, but in a lot of ways, I don't know if I'm doing the same thing they're doing because I'm selling sex appeal. So I can't look down on these girls. I may not be having sex with people, but I'm still selling sex appeal. And then the interviewer says, well, sex and sex appeal aren't the same thing. Nicki responds by saying, that's true, but I just don't know if girls who look up to me think that when I'm posting a sexy picture, I'm actually the antithesis of all that. I'm more of like the snobby girl, like the what type of girl. And I want girls to be like that. I'd rather you be called snobby or a bitch or conceited. I'd rather you be called that than easy and a hoe and a slut. So this is something that Nicki got backlash for a couple years ago. And then now the same thing is kind of happening because she did put up a tweet where she quoted a line from the diss before it came out on Twitter. And then a lot of people were saying, hey, you know, how come you're slut shaming another woman? Now, continuing with the song, later on the record, Nicki says, trying to steal the sauce. I said, get up out my cookbook, but really I'm a sweet pie, PRTTY, but I'm PETTY. Now, still in the sauce line, that's obviously a reference to Nicki Minaj, kind of laying out the blueprint for all the female rappers who are popping today, including Megan Thee Stallion, to essentially steal the sauce. She provided the formula, that's a fact, and there's been an entire generation of female rappers who've benefited from Nicki's formula, right? Nicki later continues on a song and says, why did you lie about your lipo? Effing your best friend man is crazy, you the type though. That's obviously a reference to Megan Thee Stallion sleeping with Tory Lanez when Kelsey Nicole was dating Tory Lanez at the time. She then says, you was lying to the queen, then you went lying to the king. Gail, that 30-year-old T, so stale. Kylie kicked you out and made you stumble to the car. Barbs, I need a good alcohol bar. Roman, wait, that was the bar. That Kylie Jenner bar, that's a reference to Tory Lanez, Megan Thee Stallion, Kelsey Nicole being at Kylie Jenner's house and then leaving later. And then she says, like a bodybuilder, I keep raising the bar. If you get shot with no scar. This little piggy toxic, someone adopted. And then she later continues and says, shit, it'll get dark like chocolate. I'm about to get up in your ass, bitch. Clench. Yeah, sort of like French. I don't know what she's saying. I think she's just rapping for the sake of rapping on this part. And then Nicki continues and says, they got you all up in them Grammys, but your flow still a no. What a fiasco, Lupe, Future made you pay. Now that Future line, that's a reference to Future allegedly, according to Nicki Minaj, making Megan Thee Stallion pay $250,000 for a feature. She later continues and says she wanna party with the baby while rubbing on Tory toupee. I guess she needed money bags for them Trey songs. She Jeezy, Carl made her crawl for it. Oh, okay, that part's kind of cold. I can't even lie. She literally managed to include all the people that she dated within one little, literally 2 lines. That's crazy. And then she made a metaphor by saying she Jeezy, essentially saying that Megan is easy to bag. You know, she said money bag, kind of clever. And then Carl made her crawl for it, Carl Crawford. Nicki continues and says, yo, why the F they poke the monster? Effing with Nicki this year, ho, I'm coming like a pun star. She continues and says, she just mad that no nigga ever loved her. No nigga gonna stand 10 toes behind her. Is it my fault I got good vagina? Why the F is you humping on a minor? Cause you was lying on your dead mama. And then she says, on your dead mama, lying on your dead mama. And then we finally get to the outro where she's straight up talking. It's literally like a voice memo. I'm not sure why she included that in a diss track, but she says, now listen up, Bigfoot. You know, I got a lot of tea. I went easy on you. You know, whenever I meet a woman that would F her best friend's man, let your friend talk about your ex-best friend's baby on the internet. I know that they have a very evil spirit. I don't think you want the next installment of this song. I know it's the most attention you've ever gotten. One flow ho, but trust me, if you don't apologize to your mama in 24 hours, shit gonna get uglier than Ken Barbie, okay? Don't play. And also, I'd like to say to my supporters, I love you. May God bless you. You're amazing. All the good pussy gal them too, yes. But I'm very serious, ho. The things that you've lied about, even pertaining to your mom, you don't want them out, okay? Now, since you think it's funny to speak about people's families, we'll all join in. We'll all play the reindeer games soon as your new nose heals. And as soon as and then she ends it by saying, well, let's leave that for the second installment. Now, the verdict is that this is definitely one of the most underwhelming diss tracks I've ever heard. I actually cannot believe that Nicki Minaj decided to release this as a response to Megan Thee Stallion, because what in the world? Honestly, this entire song doesn't really sound all that serious. Like, I don't think Nicki actually tried, is what I'm saying. Because first of all, like, did anybody actually mix this song? Because it doesn't really sound mixed to me. I'm really just like confused at the approach she took here. Because if you're gonna respond, you gotta do it in the right way, and I feel like this was not the right way, especially considering the fact that Nicki Minaj actually has a status to live up to. Like, this is the same woman who dropped that monster verse. Like, is this the same person? Because I can't tell if this is the same person. Like, I thought Nicki would come with an actual diss track that's like on point, but then she goes ahead and drops this. Like, this is like so all over the place. It is so far from what Nicki Minaj is actually capable of doing. But then again, maybe this is all that Nicki is capable of doing at the moment. This is so hard to understand, because what is this diss track? What? Honestly, I don't really think there's much to say here. Megan Thee Stallion dropped Hiss, where she dropped that Megan Law bar, and that led to Nicki Minaj going off on Megan Thee Stallion for like 48 hours straight. We were all anticipating the diss that she was about to drop, and this is the result. I think we have a pretty clear winner here, right? It looks like Megan Thee Stallion won this beef. I mean, looks like she won, right? Very strange turn of events, but I guess this is what Nicki Minaj was capable of dropping at the moment. I just don't see how this diss track right here is going to help Nicki's legacy, because she's always been held in such high regard, and it's obviously rightfully so, because Nicki Minaj has an extensive track record of being an amazing rapper, but what she produced here doesn't sound like something an amazing rapper would produce. I mean, it doesn't even sound like Nicki Minaj really tried here. That's the sad part, and I can't really use the fact that she didn't try as a cop-out, because, you know, had Megan Thee Stallion, let's say, dropped a diss record and it was this low quality, none of us would be on here talking about, oh, you know, Megan Thee Stallion didn't try, so it doesn't matter that she dropped a diss record that was whack. At the end of the day, in this case, you're gonna get judged based off of what you put out, and Nicki put out a whack diss track, man. I'm literally just like so confused. I mean, what happened? What happened? Nicki, what happened? Anyway, Nicki Minaj finally responds to Megan Thee Stallion. Before you leave, can you do me a favor and drop a like on this video? You did, after all, make it this far, so if you enjoyed the video, why not drop a like, right? Thank you, I appreciate you. Any thoughts on this Nicki Minaj diss track aimed at Megan Thee Stallion? Curious to hear what you have to say about this one. I can, you know, definitely anticipate what you're gonna say, but I still want to hear what you think. Very strange how this thing ended. Anyway, I guess I'll see you in the comment section, right? And most importantly of all, I'll catch you on the next video. Have a good day, have a good night, wherever you're at, okay? Stay blessed, and yeah, peace. I'm out.